Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center and I'm here with Carroll Brown with his movie, Control. Let's take a look at the clip.
I'm alone. 600 million miles. It takes 2 hours just to say good morning to you guys. What if I can't do it? What if I get injured or sick like
Carroll, congratulations on your film.
Thank you very much. Very excited about it.
You took me on a journey that I'd never even been before. That's all I'm gonna say. And if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. I've never seen a film quite like this before.
Wonderful. That's good to hear.
But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
Sure. It is. It's a science fiction horror mashup melange about a woman scientist on a station outpost on one of the moons of Jupiter, whose companion dies unexpectedly. And she's left there alone, but comes to believe, or maybe it's realize, that she's actually not alone after all.
Wow. You know, I have to say, and I've watched a lot of films, I don't think anyone has done the sci-fi horror as perfectly as what you did.
Oh, well, that's high praise.
It was really, really fantastic because, you know, to create this world, and firstly, making a sci-fi film in the short film narrative is difficult enough as it is anyway, because, you know, you're generally not given the multi-million-dollar budgets, right?
Fair
normally.
to say.
But this world you created was just unbelievable. Where did the story, because I mean, you come from a writing background, this is your, this is one thing I don't get when people say to me, it's like your first directing piece, and I'm like, I honestly don't believe you still. I feel like this has got to be his 50th, but anyways, I believe you. But what was, where did the inspired story come for you?
Yeah, so the original basis for the story came from an article I was reading about a woman scientist at one of the Antarctica stations in the dead of winter, in the Antarctic winter, and she was a medical doctor down there doing research, and she developed breast cancer. And there was no way for them to get personnel to her, and she ended up having to perform a biopsy on herself.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was fascinated by this idea of isolation and, you know, just the incredible fear that must have been there, and the courage to face that. And so I started playing with the idea of you know, sort of expanding that, or taking that and exponentially ramping up that isolation to you know, an outpost, in this case 600 million miles away. Jupiter is about 600 million miles away, and you know, that's even far more distant, to the point where, you know, communication takes a couple of hours. It takes about an hour for a signal to get from Earth to Jupiter, an hour to get back. So you can't even have a normal conversation at that point. And so just the insane amount of isolation that would create. And then that started getting filtered through my own sensibilities of, I come from a science fiction writing background and a science fiction reading background. I'm a third generation science fiction guy. My grandfather was reading the pulp science fiction back in the 30s and 40s.
That's why it was so wonderfully written. It was like amazing.
Yeah, so, you know, and definitely influences of John Carpenter's The Thing, and even more so the original short story that was based on, John W. Campbell's Who Goes There, and things like, you know, obviously you can't grow up in this culture without being influenced by things like 2001.
Oh, of course, yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I mean, what I love is that, you know, again, I think there was so many, for your audience perspective, you put so many fears into us from just the fact that, like, this is millions of miles away. What on earth would you do going through these circumstances? Like, unbelievable. Now, we'll go into a bit more about the set, because the set was phenomenal. It was so good. It was just like, it was so scary. It was unbelievable. But let's not forget, this was a one-person performance. She did an incredible job. How on earth did you find her and cast her? Because she was fantastic.
Yeah, the actress's name is Jamie Page, and as you said, it is her. It is a one person. It's her talking to Mission Control, talking to Control back home. And so we had an actor on set who worked with her, because the actual voice of Control is an actor named C. Thomas Howell, and he recorded his bit sometime later. So we had an actor work with her on set, but I had cast her in a previous short film, and she had blown me away right from her audition. She had sent in her audition tape of a monologue from the short, and I started crying watching it, and I thought, if you can make me cry with the words that I wrote, that I've gone over 1,000,000 times, you're connecting with me. Yeah. And so I really wanted to work with her again, and so I actually kind of wrote this part with her in mind. Yeah. When I got the idea of kind of a woman in isolation, I thought, I know who can pull this off.
Yeah, and it's perfectly casted. It was just, you couldn't imagine.
Yeah, she's
just to go through so many emotions in there as well,
Yeah.
and not to mention the emotions is off, a reaction to a Control, which is just phenomenal.
She was reacting as often as not. She's literally staring into a camera lens. So there's this huge camera and all the lens and all the mechanism and all the crew sitting behind her, and she's having to actually act with all of that right in her face, because in much of the film she's talking to the computer monitor. She's recording messages back to Control, and so everything's kind of right here, and to pull that off, to have that level of concentration and capability to pull that emotion up when there's all of these distractions. It's not like the crew's over there even, or she's, the camera's over there, and she's talking to this person. She's having to stare at all of the equipment right there. She did a phenomenal job, really, the level of concentration and that level of her ability to access those emotions, to talk in actor speak, to pull all of that up is amazing.
Well, you must have had a terrific production, because I think you put the fear of God into me, because you created this universe. You obviously have to imagine, this universe you've done, and the production value looked phenomenal and fantastic. Tell us more about your kind of production design, and obviously you had a great cinematographer as well, which really just got these incredible shots.
Yeah, it really all started with the cinematographer. He and I worked together for probably 3 months before we shot, for a couple of reasons. One, we really went back and forth, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, kind of Alien and things like that. We went back and forth on how we wanted just the core look. We looked at different sets. We looked at some standing spaceship sets that exist out there, and things like that, trying to figure out how we're going to film this. And I really didn't want it to be Alien. I didn't want it to be dark and industrial. I wanted it to be bright, because I didn't want there to be any shadows for this thing, if it exists, to be hiding in. That's part of the point. Is you're not sure if she's going insane or if something is actually happening. So I wanted it to be very bright, very open, very stark. And once we decided on that, then we needed to come up with, we knew we wanted it to be very much in a contained, it's kind of it's basically one room. There's the implication that there's other rooms within the space station. But so we just sat down and sort of and designed this set. Now, I had some help early on from a couple production designers, but as a matter of fact, it's really pleasing to hear people say that the production design looks good, because
it's so good.
It was totally last minute, because my production designer ended up having to bail 3 days before production. We are literally, I walked onto set the first day, the load-in day. We had a load-in day because we shot on a soundstage, and walked on set. I had no idea if we were going to have a set. It was distinctly possible that I was going to walk on and there's no set, and I don't know what we're going to do at that point. But the construction crew that I worked with,
they were fantastic. It was phenomenal. It was just brilliant. Like, I was just like, wow. Because I always say, if you can't pull off the sci-fi look, especially when it's on, short film narrative, like, don't do it. And you just create this universe for us. And I couldn't even sleep last night. I was getting nightmares, just letting you know. What was because your film, I think always that genre as well is so epically brilliant to see on a big screen. What was that experience like on New Filmmakers last night? What was it like for you to sort of see it with an audience?
Amazing, because I'd seen it several dozen, if not several hundred times on the small screen in the editing process, and so to see it up on the big screen, one, to know that those images held up, you know, that it works, blown up like that. And in fact, if anything, it's more effective like that. Because it really, for me, hopefully for the rest of the audience and for you, it really created that sense of claustrophobia that we wanted. You know, the camera's in tight on her. We controlled the kind of the framing really, really carefully so that there is this sense of she's filling this space and there's not much that she can do around her. And then of course to have audiences react to it and hear them saying, you know, oh no, what's going to happen here, and mumbling to themselves during it. That's the greatest thing in the world.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just certainly did that for me, I can tell you. What's next for you, Carroll?
So a number of projects I have going right now. I'm as you said, I'm primarily a writer, and I this year was hired to write a feature for a big Hollywood action star who I'm not allowed to name, but that's in development right now, so that's very exciting. I was hired to write a pilot for a TV series that's being shopped around town right now, and then actually in a couple of weeks going to the American film market with another project.
Oh, I'll see you there.
Okay, taking a horror script that I wrote, and we've got some attachments. We've got some folks behind the camera and in front of the camera attached, and so we're taking it there, seeing if we can't get it moving. And then always writing. Just finished another new screenplay, science fiction, and starting on the next one. So.
Oh, you don't rest, but the one thing I love is that I can tell you love doing this.
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know, it's just so great
it.
to do it. You know, Carroll, I love your work. I'm
you.
really am, and I can't wait to see many more of your projects. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. I look forward to bringing them to you.
Absolutely, Carroll, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.